Have you ever wondered why humanity fell again even after the Great Flood? Have you ever asked yourself how could the children of Adam disobey once more when the memory of destruction was still fresh? Before we begin, let me say this clearly: this story belongs to you. This channel belongs to you. These questions belong to every child of Adam who still thinks, feels, and searches for truth. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear is not just history. It is a mirror. After the flood, the world was silent. Mountains were broken. Valleys were empty. The earth smelled new but wounded. The Bible tells us that after the flood, Noah and his sons walked upon a cleansed earth. Genesis describes a covenant between God and humanity, a promise that destruction like this would not return. But the Bible also quietly warns that the heart of man was still fragile. The Torah echoes the same truth. It speaks of renewal, of law, of responsibility, but it also reminds that obedience was a choice, not a guarantee. And the Quran speaks with clarity. It tells us that humanity was given another chance, a test again, a warning again, and guidance again. So the flood ended. But the test did not. Noah watched his children grow. Shem, Ham, and Japheth spread across lands that had once drowned. They carried memory. They carried fear. They carried stories of screams and rain and judgment. For a short time humanity remembered. They prayed. They obeyed. They stayed humble. But time is dangerous. Because time erases fear. Children were born who never saw rain fall from the sky in anger. They heard the story but did not feel the terror. To them the flood was just a tale told by elders. And slowly something returned: pride. Men began to say we survived because we were strong. Women began to say we rebuilt because we were wise. Leaders began to say we rule because we deserve. This was the first rebellion after the flood. Not with weapons, not with war, but with hearts. The Quran describes how people again turned away, how Shaitan whispered again, how gratitude faded. The Bible hints at it through generations, through rising arrogance, through forgotten covenants. The Torah warns of it through laws ignored, through guidance bent for power. Humanity began to settle. Villages became cities. Families became tribes, and memory became myth. As generations passed, something changed inside the soul of humanity. Fear of God was replaced with confidence in self. Obedience was replaced with interpretation. People began carving stones, not to remember God, but to represent power, strength, identity. Some said these stones reminded us of righteous people. Others said they brought blessing. This was the doorway. In Mesopotamia, early settlements formed. Farming flourished. Trade began. People controlled rivers and believed they controlled destiny. In the lands that would later be called Sumer, people built structures rising toward the sky. They believed height meant closeness to the divine. In the valleys of the Nile, people organized life around kings. They believed authority was sacred. In the eastern lands, families ruled as bloodlines. Power was inherited, not earned. Everywhere humanity was building, but not toward God. The Quran explains that people began associating partners. Not immediately, but gradually, step by step. The Bible shows genealogies growing distant from righteousness. Names multiplied, but wisdom diminished. The Torah records laws given, and laws ignored. This rebellion was quiet. No thunder, no flood, just disobedience wrapped in civilization. People said we are grateful, but lived ungrateful lives. They said we remember the flood, but forgot the lesson. Shaitan did not ask them to deny God. He only asked them to adjust truth. And humanity agreed. By this time cultures had formed. Customs hardened. Beliefs diversified. Some worshipped ancestors. Some worshipped stars. Some worshipped rulers. And some worshipped themselves. Noah was gone. Those who remembered him were gone. And the world felt safe again. That is when rebellion feels strongest. By the time centuries passed, the first civilizations stood tall. Not in faith, but in confidence. The land of Shinar was alive with ambition. Cities expanded, knowledge increased, but humility vanished. People laughed at warnings. They mocked remembrance. They rewrote obedience. The Quran later reminds us that messengers were sent again. Warnings returned again. But arrogance had roots now. The Bible later shows how corruption spread across nations. Not by disaster, but by choice. The Torah preserves the memory of guidance, so that humanity could never say we were not told. This first rebellion after the flood was not loud. It was subtle, and that made it deadly. Because humanity believed it had learned, when it had only survived. Civilizations rose, morals fell, structures stood, hearts collapsed, and yet even here mercy remained. God did not abandon humanity. He prepared guidance again, prophets again, truth again, and this is where our story pauses. Because this story is not about them. It is about us. You listening right now. You questioning right now. If this story moved you, if it made you think, if it made you uncomfortable, then this channel is yours. Time moved forward quietly, and with time came forgetting. The children of Adam multiplied, not just in number, but in confidence. They began to look at the earth and say, "This world is ours now." The flood was for the old ones, not for us. Fields turned green, animals multiplied, rivers flowed calmly, and humans misunderstood calm as approval. In the lands between great rivers, people settled permanently. They learned to store grain. They learned to measure land. They learned to command labor. From survival they moved to control. The elders who still spoke of the flood were respected at first, then tolerated, then ignored. Young voices laughed. They said fear belongs to the past. We are builders now. This is how rebellion truly begins. Not with denial, but with replacement. Obedience was replaced with innovation. Prayer was replaced with planning. Trust in God was replaced with trust in numbers. The Quran later describes this condition. People knew God, but chose paths beside Him. The Bible hints that generations drifted, not suddenly, but steadily. The Torah preserves laws, because law was already being bent. In the plains of Shinar people gathered. Different families, different tongues, one ambition. They said, "Let us make a name, so we are not scattered, so we are remembered." This was not unity for truth. It was unity for pride. Elsewhere other civilizations formed quietly. Along the Nile people learned to predict floods. They believed knowledge gave power over nature. Soon power became sacred. In distant eastern lands clans ruled as bloodlines. Authority passed by birth, not by righteousness. In highlands and valleys people honored ancestors. They believed spirits guided destiny. Everywhere the same disease appeared. Humans began to look inward instead of upward. The Quran explains how Shaitan beautified deeds. He did not deny God. He redefined devotion. The Bible later records how corruption entered culture, how violence slowly grew, how arrogance became normal. The Torah reminds that guidance was always present, but acceptance was always optional. This rebellion did not bring fire from the sky. It brought comfort, and comfort is more dangerous. People said we are safe. We are organized. We are advanced. They forgot why they were spared. The flood had washed the earth, but it did not erase human weakness. And that weakness found a new language. Civilization. Stone buildings rose, but hearts hardened. Songs were sung, but remembrance faded. Children were born into order, but not into humility. And so humanity stood, again, not trembling before God, but proud before itself. This was the second forgetting, the deeper one, because this time humans believed they had outgrown obedience, and history watched quietly, waiting. History did not shout, it whispered. Humanity believed it was standing on solid ground. Cities were planned, families were organized, power was structured, and yet something was missing. The memory of why they existed. In the land of Shinar, people reached a point where obedience felt unnecessary. They spoke of unity, but it was unity without humility. They believed if we stand together nothing can break us. Not flood, not judgment, not even God. In fertile lands farmers trusted seasons more than prayer. In river civilizations rulers trusted systems more than guidance. In tribal societies elders trusted bloodlines more than righteousness. Everywhere humanity chose structure over submission. The Quran later reminds us that nations before you were stronger, more advanced, more secure, yet they fell. The Bible records how the human heart again leaned toward corruption, not because of ignorance, but because of arrogance. The Torah preserves the warning, so that future generations could never say, "We did not know." By this time cultures had fully formed. In Mesopotamia people worshipped progress. In Egypt authority became sacred. In early Eastern lands obedience was owed to kings, not to God. Morality became flexible. Truth became negotiable. People said, "We are not denying God. We are just living." And that sentence destroyed them. Because rebellion does not always scream. Sometimes it smiles. Children grew up seeing power rewarded, not faith. They learned success before obedience. They learned survival without gratitude. And so humanity crossed a line again. Not marked on land, but written in the soul. The first rebellion after the flood was complete. No ark was built this time. No rain fell. No mountain saved anyone, because the test was internal. And mercy remained patient. God did not destroy. He warned. He sent guidance. He prepared messengers. Because the story of the children of Adam was not over. And now this story reaches you. You who are listening. You who are thinking. Ask yourself, are we different, or are we repeating? If this story touched you, then this channel belongs to you. Walk with us. Listen with us. Remember with us. Because the story of humanity does not live in books. It lives in choices. Stay connected. Stay aware. Stay human. The journey of the children of Adam continues.